Not every battle is meant to be won. Some are meant to be outlived. In times of crisis, many rush to win, to seize headlines, crush competition, dominate the moment. But the wisest know, winning too soon can cost everything. Sometimes the highest form of victory is not to lose. The ancients understood this deeply. The sage does not fight, yet wins. He does not compete, yet thrives. In a world obsessed with quick wins, the quiet player who survives round after round becomes the one everyone must reckon with. Today's question is not, how do I win fast? It's, how do I stay standing when the dust settles? Day 9. How to win without fighting. Ancient tactics for modern power. To subdue without conflict, this is the highest form of mastery. 1 introduction, redefining power in a turbulent world. In a world that grows more polarized, more reactive, and more aggressive with each passing year, conflict often seems like the inevitable path forward. Between nations, ideologies, corporations, or even co-workers, we see competition masquerading as war. Disagreements turn into viral backlash. Disputes escalate into legal battles, political gridlock, or even armed violence. But what if the greatest victories were the ones never fought? What if true power, enduring, wise, transformative power, lay not in conquest but in resolution without destruction? This is not about surrender. It is about subtle strategy. Not avoidance, but mastery of influence, diplomacy, and presence. Not weakness, but wisdom refined through generations. This is the art of winning without fighting. Sun Tzu, victory without battle is the highest achievement. In The Art of War, the ancient Chinese strategist Sun Tzu stated plainly, "To capture the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill." What does this mean? That the most sophisticated generals, rulers, and negotiators do not seek destruction. They seek outcomes, influence, position, sustainability. They win before the battle even begins, by undermining the opponent's will, disrupting alliances, controlling terrain, dominating narrative, and presenting victory as the opponent's own idea. They create such conditions that resistance is not only futile, it becomes unnecessary. He who knows when to fight and when not to fight will be victorious. Sun Tzu modern-day strategists have borrowed from this endlessly, in politics, business, diplomacy, and personal growth. Because the one who masters control over conditions will often never need to confront the chaos. 3. Lao Tzu, the strength of water and non-resistance. If Sun Tzu represents martial brilliance, then Lao Tzu, the father of Taoism, represents philosophical endurance. He wrote, "Water is fluid, soft and yielding, but water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. What is soft is strong." This is the paradox of non-resistance. Rather than crash into obstacles, the Taoist way is to flow around them. Rather than attack enemies, dissolve their hostility with insight, detachment, and gentle persuasion. In today's terms, diplomats who diffuse tension before it erupts into conflict, brands that build loyalty quietly instead of engaging in price wars, individuals who remain centered, refusing to be dragged into drama. These are the modern water strategists. Their movements may appear passive, but over time, they shape the entire landscape. 4. Modern examples of winning without fighting. 4.1 South Africa, truth before vengeance. When apartheid ended, many feared that South Africa would plunge into a violent racial civil war. Instead, under the leadership of Nelson Mandela, the country embarked on a radical approach, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Rather than pursuing retribution, they pursued truth-telling, forgiveness, and healing. No civil war, no mass executions. A country torn by oppression slowly stitched itself together, not through force, but through deep moral clarity. Mandela's victory wasn't over his enemies, it was over the cycle of hatred itself. 4.2. Netflix, redefining the playing field. In the 2000s, Blockbuster was king. Netflix was a mail-order upstart. Rather than engage in direct price wars, Netflix changed the rules of the game. They introduced streaming. They created original content. They made competition irrelevant by creating a new space. This is called the blue ocean strategy, and it's a textbook case of winning without direct confrontation. 4.3. Mahatma Gandhi, nonviolent resistance. Perhaps the most iconic practitioner of this ancient principle was Mahatma Gandhi. Through Satyagraha, or Truth Force, he led millions in nonviolent resistance to British rule in India. He endured imprisonment, mockery, violence, yet never lifted a weapon. And he won. Not by defeating the British militarily, but by disarming them morally in the eyes of the world. Pak 5. Psychological warfare. Influence is the modern weapon. Today, the battlefield has changed. Wars are fought with information, attention, and perception. A well-timed leak can collapse a company's stock. A single tweet can turn public opinion overnight. A subtle shift in narrative can rewrite history. In this world, he who understands the mind of the masses wields enormous power. To win without fighting today is to master narrative control, anticipate public reaction, neutralize threats through timing, not confrontation. It is the art of invisible positioning. 6. Why winning without fighting is so rare today. If this strategy is so powerful, why is it so rare? Because it requires discipline over ego. It demands long-term thinking in a short-term culture. It involves letting go of the need to win loudly. Modern culture glorifies poise, speed, dominance, but lasting power often comes from restraint, clarity, adaptability, and inner calm. 7. The ancient toolkit for non-combat mastery. Here are timeless principles used by sages and strategists to win without fighting. 7.1. Timing is everything. To everything there is a season, Ecclesiastes. Move too early and fail. Move too late and miss the chance. The wise wait, watch, and strike only when conditions are perfect. 7.2. Appear weak when you are strong. A Sun Tzu classic. When you're underestimated, you are left alone. You can build strength quietly, position yourself freely, and strike only if necessary, from a position of surprise and advantage. 7.3. Redirect, don't resist. When attacked, absorb the blow, redirect the force, use the opponent's momentum against them. This is the principle of Aikido and also of Taoism. In business, it looks like taking criticism and turning it into your branding. 7.4. Win hearts, not just arguments. Force may silence people, but only love and clarity win loyalty. Whether you are a teacher, a parent, a president, or a CEO, your true power lies not in your title, but in your ability to inspire trust, evoke belief, and cultivate followership. 7.5. Build quiet leverage before confronting a challenge. Secure alliances, gather intelligence, strengthen your base. When the moment comes, your foundation is already stronger than your opponent's argument. 8. Personal applications, winning without fighting in daily life. You don't need to be a world leader to use these ideas. Here's how they apply to everyday life. 8.1. In relationships. Instead of escalating an argument, listen deeply. Instead of insisting, ask questions. Instead of proving a point, prove your presence. 8.2. At work. Rather than sabotage colleagues, collaborate strategically. Instead of defending your ego, deliver undeniable results. Instead of dominating meetings, create space for others to rise and earn loyalty in return. 8.3. In conflict situations, pause, observe, delay response. Understand the opponent's needs. Find a higher frame that dissolves the tension, a win-win path. 9.9. Inner victory, the most important battle. Ultimately, the fiercest battles are internal, between your impulse and your clarity, between ego and humility, between the need to be right and the willingness to build peace. He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty. Lao Tzu. When you learn to win inside through patience, awareness, and inner mastery, outer conflict begins to dissolve around you. 10. Conclusion. The silent power of non-conflict. In a world obsessed with confrontation, the way of non-combat mastery may feel invisible or even weak. But history, wisdom, and results show us otherwise. The greatest legacies were not built by brute force, but by subtle brilliance. Gandhi's nonviolence, Mandela's reconciliation, Sun Tzu's strategy, Lao Tzu's softness, Confucius's ethics. To win without fighting is to read the battlefield before stepping onto it, move hearts before moving weapons, align with time rather than racing against it. Choose peace, not passivity, and mastery, not mayhem. In the end, the strongest are not those who crush others, but those who elevate everyone without crushing anyone. That is the true victory. That is the highest art.